It's only the second week of the season, and yet still Region 2 could be decided tonight. Two juggernauts seeking to claim the top spot in the standings, and the winner may never let that spot go. The Northwestern Wildcats, currently the king of the hill, a region crown fresh in the rearview mirror, a desire to repeat fresh in their minds. But the Maplewood Tigers right on their heels. Last year's losses to the Wildcats by a combined 4 points, which is why the belief is that this year is their year. Will a new leader emerge in Region 2, or is recent history destined to repeat itself? It's the Tigers and the Wildcats in the 10-2 Credit Union Game of the Week on Erie News Now. And with that, here we are in week number 2 of the high school football season. Week 1, a dramatic success, and now John Leidig, we get set for another fun week of games as we take a look at our big board here. Couple of pretty good ones, including Cathedral Prep Erie, Oil City Conneaut already over, Cathedral Prep Oil City winners, and we start with our game of the week. Region 2 de facto championship, maybe Maplewood Northwestern.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Those are usually the two that are competing in that. Eisenhower may have a say after their shutout performance last week against Sagertown. But, yeah, you know, this is the week. It's only week 2, and you almost hate to say it, but this is where teams can really start to separate, or you're going to be in a hole that's going to be very hard to dig out of. And when it comes to these two teams, Isaac, you dug up a great statistic. These two get together, it is always a close ball game.
Yeah, you take a look at the last 3 matchups. They played twice last year. Northwestern won them both. Northwestern won the last time they played in 2017. The margin of victory, though, a combined 7 points. 4 points in the first game, 1 point in the second game, and 2 points the game previous to that. So you talk about how close they were. One game last year going to overtime, the other one being a 13-12 victory for Northwestern. So the Wildcats, the region champs, but boy, are the Maplewood Tigers hot on their heels. Interestingly, too, this Maplewood Northwestern game is the only game in Erie County in which both teams are 1-0, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's matched up that either teams, you know, obviously split down the middle last week with a lot of them. But the fact that you can have two teams 1-0, that they were very impressive off their week 1 performances, go head-to-head here tonight. All
right, let's see what else we got here. A game that's enticing. It's a non-region game, but should be fun nonetheless. General McLean traveling down to Meadville. The Bulldogs falling 50-48 to Grove City last week. GM getting a win over Oil City. Then what you talked about in Region 2, Eisenhower visiting Union City.
Yeah, that's another one. Eisenhower, man, their defense showed up in a big way. And Jim Penley out there talked about it, that the sophomores that were starting to build a couple of years ago, now seniors, you know, they could be another team to reckon with, and they were just short last year. Eisenhower looking to make it 2-0 against the Union City Bears team, looking to bounce back after they were blanked last week by Cochranton 22-0.
Of course, GM and Meadville could be a high-scoring game out there in Crawford County as well. Let's go to our third slate of matchups, shall we? Fairview taking on Franklin. The Tigers with a nice win in week number 1. Northeast traveling to Conneaut, Ohio. It's Hickory and Girard. The Hornets off to a strong start. Girard looking for their first win, and then Mercer Farrell in a Region 1 matchup.
Yeah, it was impressive. Jared Januso and company last week at Fairview. I was at that game. They had a great offense and were really able to slow down Cambridge Springs, so that's an interesting one to see what they can do against Franklin. And another game, Mercer, the Mustangs can get out and run, but so can Farrell. So we'll see if Mercer takes the next shot to try and slow down that Farrell offense last week that absolutely blitzed Greenville in that opening matchup.
It might be between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Farrell Steelers. Farrell might have Pittsburgh's offense beat by a country mile. They are loaded with all their starters coming back. Other games in week number 2, it's Lakeview Greenville, also in the Mercer County area in week number 1. University Prep taking on Sharon, the Tigers blanking Corey in week number 1, and then Kennedy Catholic and Reynolds as well on that docket.
Yeah, we'll see how things play out. These two teams, Lakeview coming away with a win last week, so they're looking to improve to 2-0. Greenville looking for that bounce back, as we said. Sharon was impressive at Corey last week, taking on the Region 8 and Pittsburgh City League team there at a University Prep, and then we'll see Kennedy Catholic still trying to build that program down there, see if they can get a victory here today or if Reynolds will come with another win.
All right, 2 games that are happening on Saturday, one happening tonight, I believe.
No, all 3 are Saturday.
All 3 are Saturday, okay, I stand corrected. So Wilmington visiting West Middlesex, And then Harbor Creek and Warren, the Huskies, oh my goodness, Cam Williamson, he was a tank. He had 237 yards rushing in the first half and 3 touchdowns in a victory on Saturday. They'll take on Warren Saturday. And then Grove City and Fort LaBeouf, the Bison starting their season after COVID concerns in their team took them out of week 1, taking on an Eagles team that could be potentially in the running for one of the best teams that we've seen this season.
Well, and the interesting part about this, these two teams now will see each other for a 6th consecutive season, whether that have been in the regular season or postseason. Yeah. And it's really been a one-sided affair. Grove City taking the last 5 matchups, so Fort LaBeouf will look to break that trend on Saturday as they get their season underway.
All right, so I got to ask you, Joe and I are going to make our picks for Game of the Week on Erie News Now at 6 o'clock, but Maplewood Northwestern, so close it has been in the last 3 games. Who do you like tonight?
I'm going to go with the Wildcats just because Ryan Toole's experience in big games like this. Obviously, you have Dominic Kinney on the other side, still learning some things as a sophomore quarterback. I think both offenses showed some ability to put up points last week, but I just like Northwestern and that hard-nosed ability to kind of grind teams down. Yeah. I think I'll take the Wildcats in I'll go 17-14.
And that might be high scoring.
Yeah.
The two scores last year were 17-14 and 13-12. There weren't many points scored at all. Keep in mind, too, for Game of the Week when it comes to Maplewood Northwestern, Coach for the Tigers, Brian Borkovich, telling me earlier this week, last week, week 1, the team had no penalties. No penalties at all. It was the first time he said he's ever seen that well-disciplined of a team early on in the season in week number 1, so he'll have to go up, and that team probably won't be able to commit any penalties or mistakes against the Wildcats. But these are 2 well-coached teams. Mark Brooks back for his 5th season with the Wildcats, and so it should be a fun one. But again, if you like hard, gritty, to the mud sort of football, that's going to be your game tonight. Any other games that you think might stick out as well?
Well, I think you've got to talk about Meadville last week coming up just short in a 50-48 loss, but they're going to look to bounce back with that running back tandem they have down there. And then you also look at General McLean. Man, John Amon, what a week he had last week, along with the rest of that defense for the Lancers, who were able to slow down Oil City, who has had their number in the past. So they're off to an impressive start. See if they can make it a 2nd straight week.
All right, folks, week 2 should be fun. We're going to be all out and about. We've got at least 10 games that we're covering, if not more. We'll have all the highlights tonight. Erie Sports Now, Friday Football Fridays at 11 o'clock. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, tune in. We'll see you tonight at 11:15 with all the coverage.